Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here at Activate Learn on Twitter. It is time for another book review. I've got my cup of coffee, I've got my book, let's talk about it. So the book that we're going to review today is Argentinian writer Ernest Sabato, and it is The Tunnel. Now, Ernest wrote this book back in 1948. He's obviously not around, he passed away in 2011 at quite an old age. But this book was my second reading. Lately I've been going back and reading different books that I have read many years ago to see if I have somehow changed my view of them. This one, I must admit, when I read it the first time, I loved it. Second time round, I guess the protagonist left me cold. And indeed it actually made me consider how the protagonist was very much like the protagonist from Perfume, which I have another review of, and who I didn't like, and in fact had similar traits of the guy in the Perfume, same with the guy in this book. But you might be thinking, okay, you don't just tell us what this book is about. Well, this book is a short read. It is like you are delving into the mind of someone who is slowly unraveling, who's becoming mentally unstable, who has stalked a woman, concocts stories in his head about her and what she's doing. But let me read the back blurb so you could get a gist of what it's about. So, infamous for the murder of Maria Iribarne, the artist Juan Pablo Castel is now writing a detailed account of his relationship with the victim from his prison cell. Obsessed from the first moment he saw her examining one of his paintings, Castel had for months fantasized over how they might meet again. When he happened upon her one day, a relationship was formed which swiftly convinced him of their mutual love. But Castel's growing paranoia would lead him to destroy the one thing he truly cared about. He is an artist. It is set a little bit after the war. You could see that he's kind of mentally unstable. He creates this canvas, this artwork that has a little vignette in the corner of a woman looking out of a window. As he displays his artwork, people come and go through his canvas, but there was this one young woman in her 20s who really scrutinized that vignette, and somehow by him looking at her, looking at this vignette of a woman looking out of the window, he seemed to think that he had some kind of really deep connection and that she understood why he had drawn and painted this scene. What we then see is his thoughts out on paper and how he starts to become paranoid over who is this woman, how does she understand him, and how could he connect. So he starts to become a bit stalkerish, and we get to hear and see the depths of his mind and how he seems to twist everything around to try and understand what is happening. What happens is he meets her one day in the street and he aggressively kind of takes her, and in the sense that he just doesn't let her go. He rings her up at home. Turns out that she's married, but she's got a life of her own. She's got some lovers. Well, we think she's got some lovers because we're only seeing it from his point of view, and he seems to kind of make some excuses. Every time he calls her house, he wonders, why did she answer that way? Why did she say that word? Why did she go into the other room to pick up the call? And so he creates these little stories in his head, and he becomes wild. He's a wild man. He follows her to the Estancia, which is I guess like a holiday home, where she's staying with her cousin, and he has this idea that she's having an affair with not only him but a whole heap of other people. Anyway, he ends up killing her. But the kind of excuses and the things that he's going through his head just to justify why he believes he's right is phenomenal. So in some way we get to see the depths of someone who is deranged, someone who clearly does not pick up on the cues or thinks his way is the best way. And in actual fact, I kept thinking that this is probably the thinking of many men who are stalking their wives, their girlfriends, their female family members, and having put violence against them as well. So this book and the character I did not connect with whatsoever, one iota, simply because he was demented. He was demented, and it was his way or it was no way. He couldn't see any reason. Towards the end, you might be thinking, okay, well, what's the tunnel got to do with it? It's how he explains the situation that he's in. So what I learned from this is maybe how people who are, I guess, mentally unstable view the world. And he saw himself as being in a tunnel, and this very dark tunnel has some windows, and whenever he looks out the windows, he sees other humans who are in their own tunnels and their own windows looking out. So he seems to think that other humans out there are also in the same predicament, especially Maria, the woman that he was stalking, and he wrongly assumed that she was also like him. It really happens though, it's really a testimony, I guess, the fact that some people really do have their own world that they think, and then there are other people outside this tunnel, outside this blackness. Life goes on for them. That is it in a nutshell about what I got out of this book. Like I said before, I felt that the character, I could not connect to this guy at all. Even though I liked the reading the first time round, the second time round, there was something abhorrent by the fact of him stalking this woman and how he treated her, and how he just didn't find ways to try and understand her, and that he justified his actions because in his head what he did was right and what she did was wrong. It just made me think of the character in Perfume, this kind of male character who hates everyone else and whose way is the right way and cannot really connect with anyone. So that is my review. Ernest Sabato, The Tunnel. Let me know if you've read this book, and I'd be interested in your thoughts. Okay then, bye for now.